Hey San Diego, I'm Atiana Parker, your co-host for San Diego's hottest show, The Block. Our show delivers stories on the businesses, entertainment, arts, technology, and sports that make San Diego special. Today on The Block, we'll introduce you to the founder of Fashion Week San Diego, a former Oakland Raider turned motivator, a Houston native who's brought her career all the way from the Big Apple to America's finest city, and finally, an entrepreneur whose brand inspires others to live a great story. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. In our next segment, we'll meet a woman who made San Diego-based designers' dreams come to life. Determined to make our city relevant in the fashion industry, we'll sit down with the founder of Fashion Week San Diego. Meet Allison Andrews.
I'm Allison Andrews. I was born in Orange County in Long Beach, California. I'm the founder and director of Fashion Week San Diego, as well as the president of APA Business Consulting Incorporated. Nothing was right. It was like this really weird period of my life where you're now told you're an adult, but everything I had mapped out and planned and worked for was not what I was doing. I was doing like the B plan by choice, but the B plan wasn't the real plan either. I knew there was something better for me and I knew I needed to get out of Orange County, but the East Coast wasn't it. But I still need to get out of Orange County. I just didn't know where it was. And then I got introduced to San Diego and I was like, oh, this is perfect. The type of student I was at the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandise here in San Diego, I was definitely an overachiever, but I was also, compared to my fellow cohorts and peers, I would say a little more aggressive in the fact that I didn't want to just get around, so to speak. So at 20, a year into my program, I started APA Consulting. A lot of the classes were preparing you to run or operate a business in some regard. You know, learning how to buy, the different math classes, merchandising, etc., marketing. The best thing about that education was it was like being part of an accelerator/incubator. So I loved my education at FITM because I actually applied it to myself. I made it work for me. I wasn't just a passive body sitting in a classroom trying to get an A. I was actually working on building something. How I got to Fashion Week and how I started Fashion Week really came from APA Consulting. I realized working in that business, primarily working with retailers and manufacturers and designers, that there was a common problem and a common trend happening in San Diego that was very frustrating to me. And I'll sum it up for you. I would work with these entrepreneurs, get them to their level of success. But what would happen is these people in the fashion industry, again, manufacturer, designer, retailer, they felt such pressure that they needed to be taken seriously, and the only way they could be taken seriously is if they were based in LA or New York. I got them to a point of so much success in their business, they actually felt comfortable and confident enough to take those leaps. But the problem with that was, guess what? I'm not in New York. I'm not in LA. So inadvertently, I was almost putting myself out of a job, literally. I thought, okay, well, what are my other options here? I thought, you know what? Let's start in our own backyard. Why do people feel this way? And what can I do to help change that mental model? And at that time with APA Consulting, I was actually a contractor that would work at IMG at Smashbox Studios in Culver City doing LA Fashion Week. And I felt very comfortable in that space. And I thought, you know what? San Diego, for being the 8th largest city in the United States, being a port town, being a border city, being home to several manufacturers, I'm talking maybe even more than LA. So I thought, you know what, there's no reason this city does not have one. It's almost a shame it doesn't have one. So I thought, gosh, it's such a shame it doesn't have one. You know what? I bet we could get people to start listening and changing their mental models if we had one, right? Because people pay attention to that. The red carpet, the events, the sexy girls, the models, the events, I mean, that gets people's attention. It was 2007, and I said, okay, I'm gonna do this. And I literally started working on it. And it took about a year to plan, and the first one was in 2008. It wasn't that big of an event. We took over the Grand Manchester Hyatt, so about 1,000 people. But for a first year event, 1,000 people, a fashion week in a town where none of this existed, in my early 20s, a kid, so to speak, pulling that off, it's pretty dang impressive. My hat's off to my younger self on that one. The neat thing about where I sit today is anything is a possibility. Anything. What we have and what we built could stay the way it is and be wickedly successful for many, many more years. And we can keep going. Maybe one of my kids will be running it. One day you'll be interviewing my daughter and she'll be talking about it, you know? Or somebody else can take it and grow it to a different level than I was capable of. And that's great. I would love it. At the end of the day, what I want people to remember about me, or my legacy as people would call something like that, I think it's what I did for others, honestly. It's what I did for others. That's what it comes down to. Whether it was through my career or for my personal volunteering and being on boards and being a donor for different organizations, it's what I did for the community of San Diego. I'd like to say that I touched it and enhanced it and made it better. I'm Allison Andrews, the founder and director of Fashion Week San Diego, and you're watching The Block.
You can find out more on Allison Andrews and San Diego Fashion Week at fashionweeksd.com.
This commercial is brought to you by Rancho Santa Fe Farmers Market. Visit the European-styled market every Sunday from 9:30 a.m. until 2 p.m. Located at 16079 San Dieguito Road.
Hard work and excellence as a standard is exactly what we learn in this next segment. A former NFL player turned high school coach talks about his struggles while trying to make it in the big leagues. While dealing with uncertainty in his career, he exposes the ups and downs life can bring and how he overcame one of his darkest moments. Meet Coach David Dunn.
David Dunn. So I was born here in San Diego, right here in the Valencia Park area. I grew up right behind what they call the Four Corners of Death. I grew up right on Imperial and Euclid. For my first 5 years, I attended Knox Elementary School, and I moved over off Division Street, and I attended Valencia Park Elementary School, and went to school and ended up going to middle school and high school in the Skyline area. We have very strong ties to family, and we always had good friends. So we made sure that we stayed busy at all times. Every year the first game was in Hawaii, so everybody was so excited about that. But all my friends that I hung with, they would be going to Hawaii and I would be at home because for 2 years straight, I failed. I failed academically. And so when they came back and me and my father went to watch the game, and he was like, I think I made a comment about a play that was made, and he said, "How can you talk when you're over here standing next to me?" And that hit home. I put my GPA up to a 3.0. I went to class on time every day. I worked hard. I worked with the coaches extremely well, and I bought into the program 110%. I ended up scoring over 20-something touchdowns and making a huge name for myself as a 6'3", 195-pound receiver. I even drew the attention of Miami Hurricanes, which was the school I wanted to attend. The coach came down. He noticed me. He came down. He wanted to check on this 6'3" receiver, 200 pounds, that could run a 4.5. And he came down and saw my transcript, and he left. And that was it. But the coach called me in. He explained to me, "Hey, you got to take a different route. You're going to go to a junior college, and if you really want this, you're going to have to strive and work extremely hard to make this happen." Coming out of junior college, I had a few offers. Like I said, I made second-team All-American. I was one of the top guys coming out. My choices came down to San Diego State and Fresno State. Ended up going to Fresno State. We were one of the top 5 receiving groups in the nation. They had a quarterback that was up for the Heisman, Trent Dilfer. During my junior year, I think I did fairly well, but I also led the WAC, our conference, in kickoff returns, which was huge for me. I was a very huge special teams guy, and I did well. I did well as a receiver, to where the college scouts were noticing, "Hey, this guy might have a shot. I think it was the time we played the bowl game against Colorado. We played in the Aloha Bowl against Colorado, which is one of the top teams in the nation. And I had to move to tight end. And during the game, I had 10 catches and like 160 yards in the first half. And then it really opened up some eyes. You know, things started blowing up, and my coach let me know, hey, you got invited to the Senior Bowl, and you got invited to the East-West Shrine game, and you have a shot. You have a draft status. But I ended up getting drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals. They took me in the 5th round, the 5th pick in the 5th round. I always show respect to that team because they're the ones who actually took a shot on me and drafted me. I had just signed a $10 million contract, but it wasn't guaranteed. So it was a lot different back then. Even though I signed that contract, I didn't get to see not $1 million of that. I was still in the top 5 returners. I was just at 29 years old, and I figured I was still, I still had a few more years of football left in me. And the phone call stopped. Everything stopped. And so that's the dark side, where you don't really know what's going on. You don't really know what happened, and just everything is just cut off all at once. I ended up losing my home. I ended up losing my cars that I had. I ended up just not caring. Not caring about life. And really, it was a dark point in my life. Next thing you know, I was called to coach my son's team as an assistant on a youth level at Valencia Park. This is where I played at and where I grew up. So I jumped right on that. And from that point on, I've been coaching ever since. So when I started coaching and getting back around football, I made a point to take academics seriously, to take the game a lot more seriously, and also to make sure that I was teaching these kids properly. So what we did was we went ahead and started a program and made it mandatory for the kids to show up. In the first year, we went from 22% passing to 88% passing. And from that point on, we just said, hey, we're going to be one of the first programs to implement study hall on a youth level, make sure we stick to it. Every parent had to sign a form that gave us consent to go and check on the kids at their middle schools. I mean, we just took it to a whole different level. It's hard to watch a lot of the kids that we've played, that we've trained and coached, and to watch them come back from different schools and they live right here across the street or around the corner, and they kind of frown upon our program, but this is where you came from. Because at the end of the day, after all the stuff that I've been through in my life, all the ups and downs, the highest points, the lowest points, all of that, I found myself once again at home. And coming home and being involved with those kids saved my life. I'm David Dunn, head football coach for Lincoln High School, and you're watching The Block.
You can find Coach Dunn on the football field at Lincoln High School, teaching kids the importance of dedication and commitment to their future.
This commercial is brought to you by Rancho Santa Fe Farmers Market. Visit the European-styled market every Sunday from 9:30 a.m. until 2 p.m. Located at 16079 San Dieguito Road.
The journey of an entrepreneur is not an easy one. In this segment, we learn how some of life's toughest moments can inspire some really great outcomes. Meet Zach Horvath, the founder of Live a Great Story.
There's been a few times where, Live a Great Story has been growing, but it gets really hard. Like the entrepreneurial journey, it's always ups and downs. It's the roller coaster, right? We're always struggling, moving forward, doubting ourselves, and it's really difficult as entrepreneurs to keep that going. And so the cool thing about Live a Great Story is that oftentimes when it's at the lowest point, or at least a low, the brand does what it does for other people for me. So it's really inspiring when I'm like, is this the right move? I'm getting overwhelmed, really struggling with how to grow, how to make an impact, all these different obstacles that are happening in the brand. That's usually when we get the most empowerment from our community. So we get amazing stories, people reaching out with just like, awesome, this is why I love what you're doing, and this is my story, and this is why you made an impact. And it really helps when, we're in the depths and it's trudging along, and, it's really hard, and you doubt, and all the self-doubt and everything, that the brand inspires me to keep going, to keep pushing forward, to keep making an impact. Zach Horvath, and I'm the founder of Live a Great Story. The very first traces of Live a Great Story, when I got back from Europe, I touched back onto the original clothing company that I started when I was 16. And so I designed these 2 shirts kind of just as a step to transfer back into the US. And those tags actually have Live a Great Story on them. And so to promote those 2 shirts and kind of just general marketing for those shirts, I ended up going around Austin and leaving 3 pretty major reminders around the city. So one of them said, if your life was a book, would anybody read it? It was like a big, pretty much like 20-foot cursive script underneath one of the main thoroughways in Austin. Another one said, do you have campfire stories? And then one of them said, Live a Great Story. And ended up, a couple months later, someone tagged me in a picture of it, and someone had hashtag Live a Great Story. So I clicked on the hashtag, and there were tons of pictures of this one pillar with the Live a Great Story on it. And it was cool, and I didn't think much of it. So from there, that evolved into kind of a square design. So the original Live a Great Story was actually square, and that, we just call them reminders. So those reminders went up all around the city. I was working at this bar till like late in the night, 2 or 3 a.m. And then after I'd get off, I would go out and put these reminders all over the city and just kind of leave them in spots for people to find, or just kind of as inspiration, not only to myself but for other people. And so from there it evolved into a circle, more responses. The circle's a little bit better. But they were left in strategic spots around the city where people could see them and not expect to see them, but they would see them and it would stand out. And so people would always say like, oh, I see this one on the entrance to the 805, or I saw this one at that one abandoned building on El Cajon or downtown, or and people would it would come back around. The circle would complete itself through just people seeing the street art, but then they would see like the stickers and the buttons. And so it really evolved into like this like simple message where just stickers, people would ask about it. We'd pass out stickers, pass out buttons. Those buttons would get passed out to other people. People would take them off and keep passing them out. And then one day I was sitting on my couch with a friend of mine, and he was like, hey man, like, I think you're onto something here. I think you're like, you're onto something. You should keep going with this. And that was kind of the first time that I was like, okay, this is something. There's definitely energy in here. I got to keep going at this. And that's when I decided that I didn't want to get a job. I didn't want to transition out. I wanted to keep building Live a Great Story. So I stopped looking for other jobs. I kept working at the bar and just kind of double teamed this. I would work all day at a coffee shop trying to figure out what this brand could be, how we could use it to build a community, how we can make an impact with it. What does it mean more than just stickers and buttons? But then I go to the bar all night, work through the night, go out, and it was just this cycle of coffee shopping all day, trying to build this brand and this idea. It just really evolved. So people started taking the stickers places, people started submitting the pictures, tagging them, and that happened very organically. So from the beginning of what Live a Great Story looked like in the very beginning to where it is now, it really just flowed pretty smoothly through our community, and we really just listened to what people were doing and what they liked and what their thoughts were, and that's kind of how it evolved out. So it was cool to start seeing pictures pop up from Machu Picchu, or all over the States, or Australia, all these like random places. People were starting to take these stickers. And so it was really awesome to see it kind of start spreading across the world. And the really cool part was that when people started seeing people sharing such heartfelt responses to the brand, but not to the brand, but to the message. And that's where it started, and that's where we continue to go. We really just want to inspire people and to inspire them on their journey. So we all have different stories, we all come from different backgrounds, and really we want people to just internalize that idea that their story is their story matters. We really want them to, embody their own story, because when people live their story and are passionate and are moving forward for whatever that means for them, then that allows them to move forward and inspire their community, and then it kind of ripples out from there. Hey, I'm Zach Horvath, founder of Live a Great Story, and you're watching The Block TV.
To learn more about Live a Great Story, you can visit them on their website at liveagreatstory.com.
When you have more month than your food, you make sure your kids don't ever go to sleep hungry.
We have many kids that are coming to school hungry, and when they're hungry, their mind is not on math, language arts.
Sometimes academic doesn't happen if you're hungry.
Feeding San Diego is a godsend, and it's a variety of food.
Fresh food that I swear it feels like it just came off of the tree.
Feeding San Diego serves people who
serve our country,
raise families,
and seek education.
To donate, visit feedingsandiego.org.
Our next guest grew up knowing that her voice would be the essence of her career, and being a successful radio personality was the furthest thing from her mind. Tonight, we follow the journey of a former aspiring Grammy singer turned radio personality. Meet Shelley Wade.
I grew up wanting to be a Grammy Award-winning singer. I remember me calling in one time and winning a singing contest on the radio. They would have this contest where they would get two listeners on the line, or one person would sing and another person would sing, and then the listeners would call and vote on the people. And I was a winner of one of those contests. I remember that vividly because it was around that time that I really just kind of realized I want to do this for a living. I'm a huge Prince fan. I've been devastated by his death. I've been a Prince fan since I was in elementary school, and I credit him with being the reason I wanted to be a professional singer, because he influenced me so much with his music that it made me want to inspire people with my music the way he inspired me. So from elementary school, I dreamed of being a singer, and it actually even now surprises me that I don't do that for a living, because it was what I knew I was destined to do.
We've got some fresh new young talent doing some things that I know you haven't heard before.
1, 2, 3, listen.
My name is Shelley Wade. I grew up in Houston, Texas. I am the host of All the Rage with Shelley Wade right here on Star 94.1 San Diego and 104.3 My FM Los Angeles. Radio personality, sometimes TV personality. It wasn't until I started working at my college radio station that I realized, you know what, I want to pursue this, see if I can do it professionally. So my first job in radio, as far as getting paid for it, was as a receptionist, a temporary receptionist. And then one day, the production director, people in charge of doing commercials, yada, yada, yada. So he would come out of the studio a couple of times daily, and he sat in the lobby, and he was like, so what are your goals? What do you want to do with your life, I was like, actually, I want to be on the radio. I've been telling, him that I wanted to be on the radio. And he's like, oh, okay. He says, well, I'll tell you what. Come back to my studio, I'll teach you a few things. He had me start voicing. He liked my voice, so he had me start voicing stuff for the station. And the program director heard my voice on the radio one day, and he called the production director. He was like, who is that lady that you had do that? He was like, that's Shelley, the receptionist. So he called me while I was at the reception desk, and he was like, hey, I heard you on the radio. You sound great. I'd like to hear how you would sound on air, though. So I sent him that stuff from college, and he was like, no. I want to hear how you would sound on my station. So again, the production director, he sits me in front of the mic, and he gives me a script. He recorded me, and then I gave that to the program director. He said, you sound great. I'm putting you on this weekend. And that's how I got my break. I worked in radio in Houston for about 9 years. Naturally, being a radio personality, New York is the #1 radio market. I was like, okay, still got the goal of living in New York. So every now and then I would send my audition tapes, and I asked to speak to Tom Pullman, who was the PD at the time. And the lady answered the phone. She was like, well, he's not available. How may I help you? And I said, well, my name is Shelley Wade. I sent in a package And I just wanted to make sure he got it. She was like, Shelley, Wade, I used to listen to you when you were, when I lived in Houston. And so that was essentially my in. And then at one point she sent me an email, hey, we're looking to hire somebody at one of our stations in the Northeast. Would you send me some audio? And I sent it to her. And then one day I was at home and I was asleep and the phone rang and I picked it up and I'm like, hello. And this man on the other line, he goes, I'm calling for Shelley. And I was like, this is she? He's like, Shelley, it's Tom Pullman. I'm like, oh, and I jumped up, because he's this huge guy, not only in the industry, but he runs that station, Z100, that I'd wanted to work at. And so he was like, hey, listen, Sharon shared your audio with me. You sound amazing. Would you like to come up for an audition? And I was like, where? An audition where? And he was kind of like, Z100? Like, where else would I be saying? So I flew up June 7th and did the audition. And it was really, to me, an honor to be able to work there and to have my own radio show in New York for 12 years. Really, I would say everything else in my career is like icing. At one point when I was on air at Z100, I was replaced by Ryan Seacrest, and I had to start working overnight. Still loved working at the radio station. That shift was killing me though. And I just needed a change in my life. And it was at that moment that my boss here, my now boss here in San Diego, called me. And so he told me what it was all about. I thought about it for a while. I really needed a change in my life. I called and talked to my family and they thought it was a great idea. As much as they love New York, they knew I needed a change too. And so I took the job, And I'm really happy. I've been in San Diego now for about 3 years, and I just really love the city. It's beautiful, and it's just a really great town. People are nice, and I love it here. A lot of people just, they'll try at something, and they'll get frustrated because it's not happening. You can never be a success without others' help. I think that's the best advice, is to share with people your goals. The people who can help you achieve those goals, share it with them. They don't know that they should help you if they don't know that they need to help you. Hi, I'm Shelley Wade, host of All the Rage with Shelley Wade here on Star 94.1 FM, and you are watching The Block.
You can hear Shelley daily on iHeartMedia's Star 94.1 FM. To learn more about her exciting career, visit her on her website at shelleywade.com.
This commercial is brought to you by Rancho Santa Fe Farmers Market. Visit the European-styled market every Sunday from 9:30 a.m. until 2 p.m. Located at 16079 San Dieguito Road.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of The Block. You can catch bonus footage of the show and watch it weekly on your computer or mobile device at theblocksd.tv. Get a behind-the-scenes look by following us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at TheBlockSD. Stay on the rise, San Diego.